aviation sector, there was a lot of intervention. We injected money into some of those airlines. But airline also is a special kind of business, and except the owners have a passion, except an owner of an airline has a passion for it and is also very honest, money does not solve all the problems. There are some problems that are managerial, that have to do with human resources and so on, and that one money cannot solve. So it is not as if the central bank did not intervene in helping the businesses. Those businesses who are having loans that became bad as a result of the banking crisis, on case-by-case basis, they were being identified and negotiations were going on with how to help them, how to intervene. Some succeeded, but many did not. So
if I remember, what happened in the case of that airline, ARIK, was seen as a national carrier at the time, halfway through the game, changing the foreign loans to, or should I say the foreign guaranteed loans to now an on-the-table kind of situation, and he has to convert that money to that loan to Naira and having to pay at 20%. Wouldn't you say that that is just being callous to businesses like that? And how can they survive?
I see your point, Gimba. Central bank did change the rules. At the time, ARIK and some other debtors took some facilities from the bank. They were not cash facilities, they were guarantees. But central bank changed its risk profile. You know, central bank is now doing what is called risk-based supervision. So they realized that there are some transactions, although they are not cash, but they have a tendency to crystallize into cash, and they could destabilize the banking industry. Perhaps with the benefit of hindsight, what should have happened is that those kind of guarantees, when they were taken over from the banks, they should have been sterilized, but they were not. And therefore they became also like a burden on the airlines. And to the extent that down the line, perhaps the government felt the airlines were not in the position to pay those loans and took over the airlines. But there were special cases, and I think with the benefit of hindsight, some of those loans should not have been converted into cash the way they were done.
So why then did the CBN not intervene in this kind of situation, knowing that these are capital-intensive businesses that are employing Nigerians? Why didn't the CBN intervene to help businesses like ARIK or some other business, even the power sector, to survive these troubling times? Because we really need the job figures to go up.
What I'm going to say now is an opinion. I believe in the design of AMCON at the beginning was that after saving the banking industry, every businessman that has a bad debt in AMCON should be given an opportunity to work their way out of the loans, including giving them extra financial accommodation to do so. What I suspect must have happened is that a time was reached when a new government realized that they cannot continue to go that way, and therefore they became impatient with some of those businesses and they put them in receivership. But in the original design, every businessman that is willing and capable and has a good business plan should be allowed to work their way out. But I think there is an element of perhaps impatience. That is why some drastic actions were taken on some of the debtors.
I was coming from Port Harcourt just about 2 weeks back. I tried to board a plane. This particular plane, from 7 o'clock in the morning, we couldn't board. The plane was delayed all the way till 6 p.m. in the evening. This is the same ARIK that we used to know and has fleets of airlines, of planes. I think at that time in 2010, they had about 18 or 15 planes that were very viable. Today they have less than 5. Does that bother you?
It does bother me, Gimba, because I know without fear of contradiction that government is not a good businessman. Government should limit its role as a regulator in the economy. Whenever government tries to get involved in the business of the citizens, there is bound to be complications. Anybody who sets up an airline, not in Nigeria, this is true for most parts of the world, and I've attended aviation conferences with Boeing and so on. It is more of an issue of passion that keeps an airline afloat. So if you as a lender or you as a government decides to take over an airline, there are bound to be complications because you cannot run it the way a person who has passion, who set it up, will run it. And therefore, what I would have expected, perhaps, maybe a better way would have been that the government or the regulators should have worked with the owner to resolve the financial conditions of the airline instead of outright taking it over.
Is it too late to go back to the table and look at it from your view?
It's not too late. A receivership is not a liquidation. A receiver manager is supposed to walk alone. If it is paid back, the assets go back to the owner. But if, in all honesty, it is realized that the fortunes of the business are getting worse than when the lender took it over, it is good to have a look, to have some further renegotiation on the matter. And this is not for airline, for business that is in receivership.